I'm Izzy, and welcome back to Willie Mae TV. We're here to wake ourselves up, check in with our minds and our bodies, and maybe learn a few things too. So as usual, we're gonna start off with some beat breathing, just to get ourselves settled into the present moment and get more in tune with our bodies. So I have a beat that I'm gonna play, and I'll count off as we take a deep breath in through the nose, hold the breath, let it out through the mouth, and then hold that. And remember, when you're pulling that breath in, I want you to fill your lungs up, pull it all the way down through to the bottom of your body. You ready? Let's go. You ready? Here we go. In. Hold. Out. Hold. In. Hold. Out. Hold. In. Hold. Out. Hold. A few more times. In. Hold. Out. Hold. One more time. In. Hold. Out. Hold. I hope you feel a bit more grounded. I know that I always do after that exercise. So today for our Artist Spotlight, we're talking about Zora Neale Hurston, a writer, folklorist, and anthropologist whose recordings and writings were crucial in preserving the early 1900 traditions of Southern Black Americans. Zora was raised in Eatonville, Florida, and even though she eventually traveled to New York and became one of the most influential writers of the Harlem Renaissance, her mission in her career was to record and preserve the songs, stories, and traditions of Southern Black American cultures. So she toured through different Black communities in Florida, listening, recording, and learning all along the way. And today we're lucky enough to have the novels, poems, plays, and articles that she wrote, as well as some of the actual recordings that she made, which is pretty cool. So let's take a listen to one of those recordings now, and this is her actual voice.
This song I got at Callahan, Florida, which is a railroad center in the northern part of Florida. I got this in 1935. I don't remember the man's name that sung it to me, but I got it at Callahan at the railroad camp.
What type of song is it?
This is not exactly a song, it's a chant for the men lining. You know, a rail weighs 900 pounds, and the men have to take these lining bars and get it in shape to spike it down. And while they're doing that, they have a chant that, and also some songs that they use to the rhythm to wake it into place, and then the boys hollers, bring up my hammer gang, and they start to spiking it down. And this is a chant for lining a rail. Mobile, in Alabama, Fort Myers, in Florida, let's shake it, let's break it, let's shake it, just half.
Zora famously wrote, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." I think that's a beautiful quote, and like she says, it's important to tell our stories when we have something to say. So that's it for our Artist Spotlight. Can you guess what time it is now? I think it's time for the dance party. Let's go. Okay, let's do this. And I expect you to let the full groove and the full rhythm flow through you. Okay, so here we go. Yes, I love the energy. There's nothing like some vigorous flailing to start the day off right, in my opinion. So now on to today's topic, listening. Sounds surround us all the time, and we may hear them, but we're not always listening. Because there's a difference between hearing and listening, right? Hearing is the physical means of perceiving sound waves. It happens automatically and it's passive. Listening is intentionally focusing on what the ears are perceiving. It requires intention and it's active. So while hearing is about the ears, listening is actually more about the mind. Why is it important to listen? Well, 2 reasons. 1, it allows us to communicate better, to actually understand and really take in what someone's trying to say to us, and in turn to be better understood. And 2, it helps us be more in tune with our bodies, more present and more aware of our surroundings. Because sounds affect us whether we notice them or not. Think about it. What sounds bring you joy? What sounds make you feel suddenly nervous? What sounds make you feel relaxed? What sounds make you you? So really listening allows us to just be more aware of our experience in the moment, in real time. We can also expand how we think about sound by imagining how things that we can't actually hear would sound. For example, what does your imagination sound like when it's working? What does it sound like beyond the edge of your imagination? Or think about the trillions of cells moving around in your body all the time. What do they sound like when they're moving? Or what about the echoes of all the footsteps you've ever taken? What do they sound like? These questions that I've paraphrased come from a practice called deep listening, which was invented by a really rad person named Pauline Oliveros. And we'll talk about her another time. But the questions are a way of considering and being attentive to our experiences in a different, deeper way. For our exercise today, we're gonna spend 1 minute listening. I'm not gonna play any music, we're not gonna talk, we're just gonna listen to the sounds happening around us. For some people, closing their eyes helps them focus on what they can hear because it tunes out that sense. But for others, keeping their eyes open works better for them for focusing. Also, just like there's a difference between hearing and listening, there's a difference between seeing and watching. And if you're deaf or hard of hearing, you can do this same exercise by focusing on one area in front of you for 1 minute and looking at all the details that you might normally miss. So here we go. This exercise can be a great way of practicing mindfulness, just grounding yourself in the present moment, the way that we do with our beat breathing exercises. But it can also be a great way of exploring the sounds around you and even cataloging them. So I did this exercise earlier and I recorded some of the sounds that I was hearing, like a door closing, I recorded the oven humming, my cat meowing, and I mixed them together and just explored that, and it was a lot of fun. Check it out. Pretty cool, right? Give it a shot sometime. I highly recommend it. So sounds carry associations, and they tell stories. When we take the time to really listen, we open ourselves up to more fully experiencing the world around us. That can be a way of caring for ourselves, and when we share what we hear, like Zora Neale Hurston did, it can be a powerful way of expressing ourselves too. Here's what's happening at Willie Mae Rock Camp. So Willie Mae Future Sounds programming is rolling. Like I mentioned last week, this programming is about STEAM, so science, tech, engineering, art, and math. It's about social justice, and it's about music technology. All those things are super cool by themselves, and when you bring them into one set of programs, it's just amazing. So please check it out. The other thing that we've got going is a campaign called Campaign Amplify. And what that is us raising funds to set up our performance/teaching space in Gowanus, Brooklyn. The location is super cool, but it takes money to equip it and to turn it into a space where we can really support and provide resources to our campers. So to donate to Campaign Amplify and to see what else we've got going on, check out our website, www.wmrc.org. For our shout out, we want to say hey and thank you to everyone who has supported Campaign Amplify. So much love and gratitude to each and every one of you. As always, let's wrap up with some daily intentions. So here's our prompts. What's one way that you're going to practice actively listening? And who is one person that you're grateful for that you're going to reach out and say thank you to? Let's take 1 minute. Here's my intentions. Today, I am going to listen to the snow. It's been snowing all day, it's still snowing, and I'm gonna go stand outside and listen to it for a little while. And I'm gonna reach out to someone that I used to work with, who is one of the sweetest people I know and who deserves so much appreciation and credit for the things that she does and for the things that she brings to people around her. Remember to share your stuff with us. If you've made something cool that you want the world to see, send us a video or an audio file to wmrc@williemaerockcamp.org, and we'll share it right here on an episode of WMTV. And don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and follow us on our socials, which are on the screen and in the description below. I'll leave you with another camper project. One of the many things we teach at Rock Camp is podcasting, and these campers made a podcast about their experience as teenagers living in the pandemic. So take a listen and stay lifted. And oh yeah, you rock.
About recent COVID-19 coronavirus here.
Potential coronavirus vaccine.
Coronavirus pandemic.
Death toll rises to 4
To quarantine themselves.
The new COVID cluster.
Black Lives Matter!
They were arrested for allegedly defacing statues. Protesters that were arrested.
It turned violent over the weekend.
Black Lives Matter!
Welcome to Protest in the Pandemic, a podcast by recovery teens. Hi, my name is Kimi. I am 15 years old, and quarantine for me was fun in the beginning, and then it
went downhill from there. It was fun because I didn't have to go to school. And then once school ended, I was like, oh my gosh, school is done. And then somebody told me that they took everything out of our lockers. So that's not the best thing, because my mom's yoga mat's in there. And I know my mom's like, oh no, it's fine. Like, you've been living without it for X amount of months. You'll be fine. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but it's yours though. And I don't want to, lose your stuff. I hate losing my parents' stuff. I hate it so much. I don't get to see my friends that much. I see some of my friends. I see two of my friends. We go to Jersey at least like once a month, and we see them and we talk to them. And this week actually, we're going to sleep over. And then after that, that's really about it. My grandma's coming over. I feel like with quarantine, I want to go out, but before I didn't want to go out before. So I don't really know why it's bothering me that much, if it didn't bother me from before. But yeah, quarantine is making me want to go out and see my friends.
Hey, I'm Kate. I'm 16, and I've been writing a lot. One thing about quarantine is that it's definitely pushed me to marinate in feelings that I used to escape from.
Hi, my name is Cece, and I'm 15 years old. And I have to say, the pandemic had been affecting me from not seeing my friends and not able to do the things I love. For example, going shopping with my friends, or like going to a restaurant, stuff like that.
Hi, my name is Coral and I'm 16 years old. At the beginning of all of this, I was one of those people who totally undermined the virus. I kept saying that it was just a flu and everything would be fine, and then school shut down, and then businesses started closing. My dad stopped getting work, so I started to take it much more seriously. However, being in the very privileged position I'm in, I have a house in Brooklyn with a backyard. We were able to go on unemployment very quickly. I have a sibling to spend time with. I saw how lucky I was, and I actually started to enjoy it. I saw it as an opportunity to grow. I wanted to introspect, think about who I am and who I want to be. And as teenagers, this is the time to start exploring and learning about ourselves. I was reading more, cooking, sewing, doing things for me. But then after about 2 months, I burned out, and everything was much harder. I didn't have the motivation to continue doing all the things I started, and I don't think I'm the only one who had this experience. Now the things I'm struggling with are how to appropriately act when it comes to safety precautions. But I still find myself going about things normally. I started seeing friends again. Do I hug them? I started taking the train, but do I hold the pole? It's beautiful that at every corner someone is handing out masks, hand sanitizer, and food and water, because we are still in a pandemic. Me and my sister did that, and there were so many other people doing the same thing that we came home giving almost nothing away. I went to Occupy City Hall before it was brutally destroyed by the police, and it was just so beautiful. Another example of people taking care of each other. It was small-scale socialism, and I think that this time has given everybody the opportunity to introspect, which makes me hopeful for what's to come. Maybe great change will come. Maybe more people will understand that socialism isn't so radical, and maybe we can finally reach those who were once unreachable, quote unquote. I know that these past few months I have learned so much, and I have come to understand what me, as a white person, can do for the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm ashamed to say that before this I had never been to a Black Lives Matter protest, and I don't think I'm the only one. I hope it's not naive to be hopeful for the future, though. We have proved that the people have great power when we come together. I'm hoping that we continue with these small victories as the pandemic goes on and as we, as a country, figure this out together.
Hi, my name is Violet. The pandemic is affecting me as a teenager because I can't see my friends in person and online school. As a teenager, seeing your friends is a big part of your social life. And if you can't talk to them, it feels like you're even more isolated than you are. Online school is also hard because your future depends on how well you do in school. Online school feels like you're just staring at a screen all day long and not actually in school doing work. It's hard to be on technology for a full day as well.
My name is Maria Bautista. I'm the campaigns director with the Alliance for Quality Education.
Earlier this week, I interviewed Maria Bautista, who is the director of AQE. AQE is a statewide coalition that fights for educational equity across New York State. Specifically, they're concerned about resources and making sure students have the resources they need to get the highest quality education. Because AQE is involved specifically in the fight for equality in education, they've actively been involved with brainstorming ways for schools to open this upcoming September. I asked Maria what topics came up frequently when talking about these changes.
These inequities are so invisible. And what the coronavirus did is actually it stripped away all of these superficialities, and you can actually tell how different school districts, how different schools even are so deeply impacted by inequities. These trauma-filled events are opportunities for us to really shift the pendulum. What do we want our societies to look like? What do we value? Do we value societies that provide healthcare for everyone and homes for everyone and high quality education? Or do we value societies that criminalize people and that treat people as disposable?
Big changes are going to be made to the public school curriculums nationwide this year. Because of the pandemic, but also because of the immense pressure the people are putting on our institutions, encouraging the conversation of the effects systemic racism has on students. Maria and I discussed what some of these effects are.
So thinking about the school to prison pipeline, right, that there are more cops in our education system here in New York City than there are cops in Boston. That there are more cops in our public schools than nurses, counselors. This is 400 years plus in the making, and that these deep racial inequities, these economic inequities are hundreds of years in the making, and that we really need a lot of people power in order to beat back all of this money in politics. Right? If you follow all of the decisions that these legislators and elected leaders are making, you can trace it back to very powerful corporations making contributions and making sure that they're pushing their policies.
New York City has one of the most segregated public schools in the country. This is an unbelievable statistic, considering in 2020, New York City has a little over 1 million students in New York City primary and secondary public schools, while in 2019, the country as a whole had around 50.8 million students enrolled in public primary and secondary schools. We discussed what effects the segregation of not just race, but socioeconomic class had on students. I got the New York City statistic from New York City Open Data and found the countrywide statistic on educationdata.org.
So I think that this is a tactic. I think that it's been very crucial in the dynamics in this country. And so segregation has implications in many different ways. Specifically in schools, it means you are taking wealth out of districts, or you're concentrating wealth in certain districts. And the outcomes are disastrous, right? People like to talk about an achievement gap, but really what it is an opportunity gap. People don't have access to the same kind of opportunities. And segregation is key in education.
Rethinking doesn't mean privatization of schools. Rather, how can we bring more life to public schools?
Or change how we do public education to make sure that it serves children.
How do we make school a place that all students want to go to? This is an opportunity to remake public education into that. This is an opportunity for our elected officials to finally fight for the people and fund New York City public schools in the way that they've always promised.
The state received more than $1 billion from the federal government in order to help support school districts. What Governor Cuomo did was that he cut the state budget by the exact same amount by the exact same amount of the monies that we got from the federal government. Instead of giving the schools that additional money, what he did is that he flat funded schools. So our schools didn't get $1 more than they got last year. And this immediately created budget cuts at the local level. And so New York City is one of the clearest examples. When the governor flat funded schools at the state level, that created about a 5% cut at the city level. And why that happens is every year our costs for education go up about 5%. So our teacher salaries go up, our expenses go up. And so immediately, because of what the governor did at the state level, New York City was short by almost $1 billion on education.
This is not the first time that quality public education has been sacrificed in the New York City budget. Education always seems to fall behind the NYPD, which is an issue that has been brought to the front lines of the Black Lives Matter protests since the beginning of the movement. Right now, we the people must continue to pressure our elected officials to protect our public schools. We have proved that the people have a lot of power, and now we must continue this fight until we reach an education system where everyone has equal opportunity. With education comes understanding and tolerance. Maria credits her experiences in such a diverse school to her current curiosity for the unknown. We must desegregate and better fund our public education, and this time of change is the opportunity to do it.
I just wanna know why I'm in my house but I don't feel at home. I kinda do just feel alone. I'm trying my best and I will control this pain connected to my name. Quarantine is driving me insane. What do I do when I'm without you? You said I'll be okay without it, it's not you. I do not mean to sound blue, but I'm inside because of this deadly flu. Help me please. You may not take me serious cause I'm a teen, but I've been so connected to my screen that I don't even know what talking means anymore.
I think really deeply impacted how I interact with people and how I think about people and how, just seeing the sacred humanity across cultures is so important.